last night, Mike, now let's get into why nobody died. It is a struggle.
On the Mavericks. Nobody died on the Mavericks.
It is a struggle to, like, this team since the trade we expected a lot more of them. And I think that's where the real frustration is, okay, Luka needs help. You finally got him help. They're not doing any better. And what's going to help them get better? I'm not sure. Maybe Jason Kidd is hands off because he's like, look, if I get into it too much, then they can't naturally grow together. This team needs to be able to bond at some point. And they don't have a lot of time to do it. But one thing that I think for a glimpse, is that Jaden Hardy had a pretty decent first half last night. He had 25 points at halftime, and then he only had 3 from there on. But he had a pretty good looking. He looked like really comfortable as a scorer.
So, it's a tough game, especially 20 years old. But you look at that, and I saw somebody on Twitter put this, what he did in the first half. Luka's asked to do that every game. For 75 games a year, you need Luka to do that. And what happened to Jaden Hardy? He got tired.
Yeah.
And now it's tough
to play 41 minutes.
Yeah, and to keep that up. And look, is Luka the most in shape player in the NBA? Not anywhere close.
But he
is in
different.
shape. He's in shape for an NBA basketball player. He's in really good shape, and nobody's asked to do more. Now maybe there's complaints, and I totally get it, of maybe he is doing too much and needs to trust his teammates a little bit more. But when you watch the Mavericks play, he's playing with a load of crap. Right? I mean, Mark Cuban, from after drafting Luka and Brunson, I'll give him all the credit in the world, has just, every time a decision has had to be made, they have made the wrong decision. Whether we agreed with him or disagreed with him. I agreed with the Porzingis trade. It ended up really hurting this franchise. I disagreed with just getting rid of Harrison Barnes just to save money. That really hurt the organization, that you traded something just so you could lower your cap figure the next year. When it came time for Dwight Powell, they're like, oh, he is the answer. He is better than Julius Randle. We don't even want to talk about Julius Randle. He's such a pathetic basketball player when you're comparing him to Dwight Powell. Like, every decision they made or every hard stance they took has led us to this point where nobody's dying.
Yeah, well, and the player himself is with Hardy. We have, what can he be? What can he contribute in the playoffs?
Be, to me,
nothing?
Well, this year it is very tough. Think about I'm going to give you, if you don't know who this is, I understand. Leandro Barbosa, great player for the Phoenix Suns for a long time, and then started bouncing around later in his career. I mean, it felt like he averaged negative 17 points on the road. And he wasn't just a rookie. He had been in the playoffs with the Phoenix Suns quite a bit. You're asking a 20-year-old, if you get to the playoffs, you're going to be most likely, if you make it, you're going to be a 7 or 8 seed. You're going to be in the play-in situation, and then you're going to be playing, Denver, or I guess at this point, Sacramento, which I know most people are like, hey, we'll just beat Sacramento. They've never been in the playoffs. We can't even beat the Indiana Pacers. So I don't know how we're going to beat a team that's going to actually win 50 games this year. But if you look at it, that's a lot of pressure. That being said, Jason Kidd is doing a poor job of even getting him ready for that situation. Because I'm going to tell you, if tomorrow night, Luka's maybe is back, right? There's a 50-50 chance now that Luka's back tomorrow night versus San Antonio. I don't know if Kyrie wants to play tomorrow night or not. But if he wants to play tomorrow night and he comes back, I expect Hardy to just watch the basketball game. He might not play another second. And he's going to play Justin, the released man, Holiday. Remember, we love brothers who are really bad at basketball, hate the brothers who are good at basketball. We always choose the worst one and hope that maybe the other brother will be like, oh, man, you signed my brother for 3 seconds?
That's no effort to try and get Drew Holiday, right? This is not one of those moves, is it? Like, I don't know. Every time we do this, it's like, because Drew Holiday is going to see how great it was because his brother's like, how great Dallas was. Drew Holiday at this point? What's his contract?
No, we're never getting him. But I mean,
I love him, but
like, he got released by Atlanta. Atlanta has a better record than the Dallas Mavericks, by the way. Like, Atlanta, in the same situation Dallas is in, is like, look, you're just not good enough to play basketball. We're going to let you go. And the Mavericks like, not only are you not good enough to play for the Atlanta Hawks, we think you deserve 30 minutes a night for our team. And that's where we're at in this situation, is teams that have the same record, right around 500 as the Mavericks, they're releasing players, and the Mavs are picking them up and playing them 25 minutes a night. That's how bad our role players are. We're taking bench warmers on other teams and then throwing them on the Mavs for real legitimate minutes. but it's where you're at with your talent on your team.
Yeah, no, and I think this is.
I hope Hardy does play the rest of the year. I don't think there's really going to be any playoff experience to get this year. To be honest, they're going to play 1, if not 2 games at most in the play-in situation, and then be done. But
their big problem isn't scoring, though. It's not getting buckets. Isn't the Mavs' deal? That's not their problem at all. It's finding guys that are willing contributors on the defensive side. That is their biggest problem at this point. It's nice to see Hardy do what he did last night. The Hardy party was in action, man. That is something nice to see, that you have that. You drafted this guy.
I think he can be like Jordan Poole, by the way. If you asked me before,
that'd be great.
Right, I think he can be like a little bit
but
different.
We need to find our Andrew Wiggins. A guy that can
maybe
be
Jason Terry. I know, thinking of Mavericks, like a dude who can be like a 6th man of the year candidate. He can start too, I think, in the future. But he's a guy that's going to get you kind of 20 points. And other aspects of the game, he's going to have to improve a lot, but I think that he can be a really solid, good player for you in the future. But like I said yesterday, I will not buy his jersey for my son because I don't know if the Mavs are going to trade him in the offseason.
Yeah, there's a lot of mixed reviews on this team at the moment anyway, and a lot of it has to do with they're just not winning. They could if they turn things around and Luka comes back and they reel off against the Spurs and the Lakers, and who do they have after that? They got the Grizzlies. If they can go on the road and
if ifs and buts
beat the door down
nuts
on all 3 of those teams, that changes everybody's mind real fast, doesn't it?
You beat the worst team in the NBA, that you beat the Lakers without LeBron, and you beat the Grizzlies without 3 starters.
You just got whooped by the Grizzlies when you didn't have your 2 starters. So doesn't that change the mind of, okay, you did something?
Well, you did something.
And then you get the Warriors at home. That's an ultimate you're trying to build up, but.
It would be like, okay, I think we can make the play in. I will tell you, if they run off 3 wins here in their next 3 games, I'll say, okay, I think that they can maybe stick into the play in situation.
And then they lose the next 3 to the Hornets and the Pacers, and then what?
And they should win the 2 out of those 3 games. I expect them to lose one of those games because they'll D around. And I'm not talking about defense.
Their schedule for the remainder isn't nice.
And I do love it. I do think one of the things that Jason Kidd is telling us is he's quit. He doesn't want to coach the rest of this season. He hates this team. He hates Christian Wood.
That's what you're getting from this?
He hates JaVale McGee. He just doesn't like this team. He's not enjoying coaching this team. He's given up on trying to change this team. He has called them out defensively. He's called out the immaturity. He's called all these things out. So I'm going to give Jason Kidd a little bit of credit here, but then also
that's a problem if he's
like
quitting.
I've tried. He's like,
as the coach.
I've tried everything. I'm done. He has $100 million.
Yeah, but you can't quit that's the thing.
He is.
The job
of coach. He told us last night, I'm done. I've tried everything. You guys figure it out. I'm done.
Well, and then Mike, if that's the situation, then the answer needs to be yes for Mark Cuban. I am moving on from the coach. The coach is the one person who can't quit. He has to be the one that's carrying the flag saying, look, we got to go do all these things. He's got to be the one that can motivate the players to do some stuff. They have to be. Ultimately, the players have to do something too. Yeah. The players have to contribute.
He thought last night, from what we understand, the Mavericks would be a better basketball team if Christian Wood didn't play. So they tried it. Were the Mavericks better without Christian Wood? And I get he only plays them 15 minutes a night anyways. But he thinks that Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleber and possibly now Bertans, because look, the players don't really like Christian Wood either. Let's be honest here. The players don't like Christian Wood. They don't really like his attitude. They don't like who he is as a person. They're not crazy about him. They don't want him on the basketball team. And so the coaches don't want him really on the basketball team either. They tried to trade him, couldn't get anything for him. They kept him. They should have just honestly just released him. If he's that big of a problem and you don't want to coach him and the players don't want to play with him, just release him. Just release Christian Wood. And now I know he's not going to be like a really wanted guy either. He has screwed over his free agency and his agency has screwed over his free agency. He's not going to get a lot of money in the offseason. But if he's such a bad person and he's such a bad teammate,
why have him around?
Just release him.
Yeah,
if JaVale McGee is such a horrible person that you can't try him for 3 minutes because your defense is pathetic and you've signed him to a 3-year contract for that main reason, you already know Dwight Powell's a crappy player in the playoffs. 40 games in the playoffs, 3 points, 2 rebounds a game. You know you can't play him in the playoffs. There's not a matchup that he can survive in the playoffs. And you won't try McGee. and you're done with Christian Wood. Just release the dudes.
So then the other thing, I guess, then for Kid is he's saying, I quit with this team.
Yes,
I need a better team.
Right.
Like this, I did everything I could with last year's team. They gave me their max effort. They overachieved.
Yeah.
This team is underachieving. That's not my fault.
Yeah.
But
coaches do this all the time, though, Corey.
Yeah.
This is what you tell kids and young adults. You tell these guys in spring training, if a guy's getting mad because a coach is getting on him too much, all right? A veteran guy will come to and go, hey, you notice how he's on you right now and he's asking you to do these things, and I know you're getting ticked off at him, right? Has he asked that guy to do anything? Watch. Go watch. Is he even watching his bullpens? And Mike Maddox isn't even watching his bullpens. He doesn't care about him. He knows he's not on the team. He's not going to be part of this team. He's just a filler for spring training. And when you get tired of a player, now this is usually a player, you just stop coaching them. You just hit them ground balls. I don't care if you field it or not. I've tried time and time again to try to help you, to try to get you to do the right things. I've tried in different ways. And when you stop listening to me completely and you will do nothing, and this is Christian Wood, by the way, then you just stop coaching them. You're like, I'm done. I'll just throw the ball to you, hit it. I don't care how you hit it. I'm going to hit you a ground ball. I don't care how you field it or throw it anymore.
Let them kill themselves, essentially.
Right. And I'm just not going to play you really anymore. And so that's where you're at with like a guy like Christian Wood. A lot of coaches do this. The best coaches in the world will eventually give up on certain people. And sometimes if you feel like the whole team isn't listening, then you just kind of give up on the team. And for Jason Kidd, this isn't a lifelong goal of his to be the greatest NBA basketball coach.
What's his lifelong goal?
To be the greatest NBA point guard.
And he already did that.
You're right. Done. He has 9 figures in his bank. This is not going to make or break him.
Again. I would never do that because I don't want a guy that's just that quickly going to just give up and because he has money. But I understand what you're saying. Like with the philosophy of I'm going to coach you as long as you're willing to be coached. Once you're not willing to be coached anymore, then I don't need you because I have to find something else.
And the other thing too is his reputation is he's done this before. He did this in Milwaukee. He started just berating the players. He did it in Brooklyn where he got tired of Deron Williams, however you want to say it. And he wrote him into the ground. And so now I think he's like, I'm not going to do that. I know writing them into the ground and just telling them they're a piece of trash basketball player doesn't work. But I'm going to go to the extreme other way, which is what he's trying to not do the same mistake again. But it's like, it's a mistake in another way of like, I just will back off and I just won't say anything anymore.
The 972, my high school coach would tell me, you need to get worried when I stop yelling at you.